and divisive.
It's the dumbest thing.
Or we just go live. We ain't gonna do no.
No, I'll be trying.
That's our 30-second countdown. It's 8:12. I'm not going to run my mouth for a whole long time, but welcome to Free Thinkers. Hello, hello, hello. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Hate to Call the Show. Welcome to the conversation that just happens to be live and broadcasted on social media platforms. Welcome to Free Thinkers. We have a great conversation tonight. Hopefully it will garner some really good feedback and some participation from our Free Thinker friends. But if you want to join the conversation tonight, rules are the same every week. You have to follow us on the Facebook Freethinker page, and every Tuesday I have the post pinned to the top of the page that has the topic of discussion and then the link for StreamYard, so you can just click the link, open in a browser, and then boom, it brings you into the panel if you'd like to join the conversation live. If you are not interested in joining the conversation live, but you do want to engage with us, you are welcome to do the live chat on either my feed or the Facebook Freethinkers feed or the YouTube feed. Doesn't matter which one you reply from. They will all come into our comment section. Sometimes the StreamYard does not pick up from Facebook who it is, so sometimes it will just say Facebook user. So sorry, it will show up on the Facebook page, obviously, that it's you, but it will not show up on here that it's you. So if you're making comments and you see on our screen that it says Facebook user, just let us know it's you so we know who it is. But yeah, you can interact with us live, of course, and you can interact with us in the live comments. And always share, like, invite somebody and put somebody onto us. We are a pretty open-minded group of individuals who really doesn't shy away from too many topics. So it certainly is not for everybody, but for those that it is for, it's a phenomenal space. So we appreciate those of y'all for following us every week, following us many weeks, subscribing to our YouTube channel, liking, sharing, presenting ideas and topics to us, and hopefully we do cover all of the things that you guys have suggested to us. But follow the page on Facebook, follow it on YouTube. The link is there. Hit it. Come into the conversation. Be prepared to have a conversation. We generally go until 9:30. Sometimes we'll push it to 10, just depending on the conversation and if folks want to stay. But we usually go 8 to 9:30, so we're starting a few minutes late. But I'll shut up real quick. Just let me back up a second. Adult conversation, adult topics. So definitely be prepared to hear adult language and adult topics and adult conversation. And if any of that bothers you, this might not be the space for you. But definitely want to give heads up for anybody who is listening or watching around children or parents or people that you just might want to, be a little protective of what they hear.
Mama, don't watch this.
Mom, don't watch it. Because we definitely do talk about things that are adult rated. So with that being said, we've got a great conversation tonight, which is topics that have been pulled from our Facebook group page, of course, over the course of the last couple weeks of just things that have been discussed on there. So you're certainly welcome to go over to the Facebook page and look at some of those videos and things that we're going to discuss. But we try to figure out, like, how can we put as much into one conversation without it necessarily being the same conversation, but they do kind of bleed into each other. So it isn't like this one means this one means this one. It just happens to be, it seems to be the most popular shit being talked about right now.
They're not connected, but they are good segues.
That part, they do. They kind of bleed into each other. So that's that. So that was our thoughts. Weak men and double standards and the word submission. So if you follow us on the Facebook page, then if you've been following this week, then you've probably seen some of these words and these conversations and these posts be talked about. So that's where we're going tonight. So we would love for you to join us. Let's talk about weak men.
Well, let's start off with the weak men. So
let's talk about weak men.
In one of the weeks where Nikki and I decided not to do the show, we were thinking about doing it based off of a post that we saw, because there was a post and then there was some comments and there was a little back and forth and there was difference of opinion of like, oh, this would make for a good conversation. And it dealt with a gentleman who had been stood up on a date. And he was, I'm gonna talk about the other side of that later. I ain't gonna even worry about that right now. I'm gonna treat it as an actual story right now. He was stood up on a date, and he was in his feelings. He decided to go to social media and voice his frustration and his disappointment on why he's having a hard time finding the right one. And there was differing opinions on. I was surprised by how many women I saw saying, "Oh, poor him," and see, this is why guys, and this is why this guy is going to end up being a woman hater, because of, as if someone will provoke him into being something that he wasn't, that he didn't initially desire to be. My thought was, this dude is the weakest of weak dudes.
Yeah, you did.
He needed to grow a pair.
You said that too.
I actually said it.
You did.
That's funny.
You did. I said, oh goddamn.
And my ultimate, I guess, bottom line sentence is, if you can't deal with rejection on all types of levels, whether it's direct rejection, indirect, being stood up on dates, rejection is going to come in many different forms. And if you're not prepared to deal with that, you're not prepared to be in a relationship. I said it a lot of different ways, but that's ultimately what I was trying to get to. This dude is soft as a 2-hour fresh Twinkie that was just made out the oven. Soft,
it's moist,
and we don't have.
I think that's what Smack calls
no
moist.
Place for moist, and we have no place for people like that in our society. And furthermore, anyway, let you watch the video.
Left the restaurant after waiting 30 minutes for a date to show up, and apparently I got stood up. I don't know what to say. Like, I'm trying to do everything right to be a gentleman. I brought flowers. I've been consistent talking with this girl for 2 weeks, trying to get to know what she likes, what she doesn't like. I made plans. I picked the restaurant, the day, and the time. You know, I've done everything to be just the kind of guy that would value somebody's time. Like, I'm just looking for my person. I'm just looking for the one that, I guess, is out there for me. I mean, I want to be somebody's husband someday, father. I'm trying to do everything that's right, and I just get stood up. Like, my feelings didn't even matter. Sitting there eating a meal by myself and realizing that nobody even cares about people anymore. To be kind to one another. Like, what? Ladies, tell me, what did I do wrong?
So, Nikki, let me ask you, when you first saw this video, what was your feelings or reactions?
My first thought was, get the fuck out of here, right?
Oh, really? Okay.
Fuck out of here.
Why?
Because when you go on social media crying like that, when you go viral trying to cry, like, I just have such a weird take about that. Like, you are literally doing that for nothing other than attention. And that's cool, because I get it. We all need attention sometimes. And that's what going on social media garners you, is attention. But why would you do that to yourself? Does it change the fact that what he said was true? No, what he said was true. It's pretty shitty to lead a dude on, or to set a date with a person and totally fucking ghost them, no call, no show. Like, you can be an absolute rude, horrible dick of a person. There's no doubt about that. And that woman that he was having conversation with clearly was that. She's fucking rude. Like, that is That's a terribly rude thing to do to a person. Dude thought they were having a dinner date. He shows up. He's ready for girl. Like, that sucks to fucking sit there and be telling your waitress that, oh, no, I have a date coming. Like, oh, she's just running late. Like, yeah, no, definitely keep the 2-top table. Like, no, let me wait on my order. Like, after, you know, a while, you either have to decide that this person isn't showing up and I'm staying or I'm leaving, or you get mortified. And he chose to be mortified. But then he went and put it on the social medias, and he just had a very whiny energy to him. So for that, when I saw it, I was like, get the fuck out of here, right? Because but I'm trying to put me in check though too, right? And just because that might not necessarily be the type of man that I would be interested in, doesn't make him a wrong man or a bad man or not a man. But that definitely is, on one hand, you want to say, is he strong because he's being vulnerable? But then on the other hand, you want to say, this dude's acting real simp-like because he's crying on the fucking internet. So that was where I went with that. But I laughed only because I was like, this dude is really doing what chicks do. Not because I thought what happened was funny. I thought what happened was fucked up. And shame on girl for doing dude like that. Like, that's dirty.
Okay, so Lisa, I can't see your face, so jump in whenever you want to. Since I can't see your face. It's only
because I'm in the car. It's just because I'm in the car. As soon as I stop, I'll turn the camera on.
Okay.
I did watch this when it came up. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I did watch this when it came up before, and I have been in situations where I was talking to somebody and things were going okay, and then all of a sudden they got to be, I guess the term would be beaver before the first date even happened. And he seemed like that type to me, like he was trying to do too much in their initial conversations before the date even happened. That does not justify what she did at all. At all. This is just my take on why he might be having a little bit of trouble. I think he seems like the type to me that tries to move really, really quickly and doesn't just chill and just let it happen organically. And they have been turned off by that. I don't know. I would, obviously
Good
don't know what the
observation.
conversation was, but that's how he struck me. And
So-
only
ooh.
because I've been in situations like that before, I kind of picked up on past experience there.
But not only that, Lisa, he kind of gave it away when you talk. So I agree with someone probably who tries to move too fast. And then they said, I'm just looking for my one. I want to be a good husband. I just want to. So this is the thing, man.
I'm being a jerk right now.
No, I'm gonna be a bigger jerk. I'll let Ira jump in a second, even this out some. Man, she clearly just showed you that she's not your one. So what, like, a mature-minded person would be like, oh, okay, well, I see, it seemed like we had a connection. Obviously, we don't. I'm glad that I got to see this person's true colors for who they are, so I can go find my one. If you're really looking for your one, she told you really quick that she ain't it.
Right.
So now you get to, you don't have to invest another dime into this person. You can continue to move forward and find your one. But if you're going to sit there and cry about the one who was never the one, and why would they stand you up? They just did you a favor.
Right.
Another sign of immaturity. I'm going to stop right there. Ivory, jump in. Tell me what you're thinking.
I did not see this video, so I'm just.
Did you need me to replay it?
If it's not too
I can
long, and
replay
y'all
it
don't
again.
mind.
Let's show the tears. Let me see. I want to see if you shed a tear. I want to get your reaction.
Left the restaurant after waiting 30 minutes for a date to show up, and apparently I got stood up. I don't know what to say. Like, I'm trying to do everything right to be a gentleman. I brought flowers. I've been consistent talking with this girl for 2 weeks. trying to get to know what she likes, what she doesn't like. I made plans. I picked the restaurant, the day, and the time. You know, I've done everything to be just the kind of guy that would value somebody's time. Like, I'm just looking for my person. I'm just looking for the one that, I guess, is out there for me. I mean, I want to be somebody's husband someday, father. I'm trying to do everything that's right, and I just get stood up. Like, my feelings didn't even matter. Sitting there eating a meal by myself and realizing that nobody even cares about people anymore. To be kind to one another. Like, what? Ladies, tell me, what did I do wrong?
Talking about nobody even cares. She don't care. It ain't nobody. She just don't care.
I mean, people eat by themselves all the time, so nobody notices because nobody fucking is putting that much inventory into the fact that your person stood you up. You're the only one that knows that the chick that you scheduled a date with is a jerk.
This person in 2 weeks. No, it's going to be bad either way. So if you spoke to her maybe 4 times in 2 weeks and you set up a date, whoop-de-doo. So what? Now, if you was talking to her, calling her every day for 2 weeks, that's too much already. You probably smothered her. Mm-hmm. She was on her way out the door and be like, no, too much. This is kind of weird.
Even then, be a woman and be like, I'm not interested, straight up. Absolutely. Like, even so, don't lead a man on. That's fucked up. Like, so to your point, if you are this soft, right, you shouldn't be dating. If you can't tell a man you're not interested and no, I'm not going to go on a date, or I need to cancel, or I've lost interest in you, you don't need to be dating either. Like, if you cannot communicate with somebody maturely, adultly, respectfully, take yourself off the table, man.
2 different depending if I was talking to him or I was talking to her, I'd have 2 different conversations with both.
Right.
Ivory, what do you think about that, Ivory?
It was something you said, and that's kind of the part that really stuck out to me. Is like you said when he said nobody cares, and it's the type of woman you're going after that doesn't care. Okay, so I'm looking at this, and I see guys like this all the time. You are of moderate attractiveness. I mean, you're not fine, but I mean, you're moderately attractive. You're not morbidly obese. Assuming from speech and stuff, you make enough money to support you, at least yourself. I
can't tell what he looked like down low.
So let's just say you're just an average guy, right? But they don't be wanting no average girl. This is normally the problem that I see these kind of men have, is you're an average man, but you are uninterested
and you
in
think I'm
going
to money her up, I'm a dinner her up and flower her up, and I'm going to compensate for all of my deficiencies with money
by all of this tricking. Extra, right?
Well, they say it ain't tricking if you got it.
When normally when you end up seeing all of this crying and stuff, is because you keep going for people who are really out of your league. And what women do oftentimes, which they shouldn't do, is we've dated, some people we shouldn't have been dating. And
she double booked, I can tell you right now.
That happens too.
She's double booked.
But what also happens is you see,
and her primary option came through first, and she's like, "Nah."
No, that's not what I'm finna say. But that happens.
but that's what happens too.
But women get
it might have happened.
They get between relationships with the type of people they really want, right? And they think I should try something new. And you, the little lame thing they try in between for the I should try something new. What I'm doing is not working. I should try something new. So they do give you a few conversations, maybe a date, in their mind thinking I should do something new. But after having a few conversations and interacting with you, they see that you are spineless, you don't know yourself, and they cannot stomach to be around you or continue to speak with you. And you end up crying on the internet. I mean, that's just my real take. It might be
Let me tell you something. Anita
I'm not
said
crying on the internet. I'll cry with y'all
hold on.
in these types of conversations, but I'm not crying on the internet. I'm not.
No, and let me tell you something, Anita said we
Not
don't
over some
necessarily know
rejection.
that he is an average man.
He got to be average.
At best, he's gonna be an average man.
At best, he average.
Because that self-esteem right there tell you he's not above average. And self-esteem is the primary. Confidence and self-esteem is your primary. There's been broke men, there's been ugly men. If your self-esteem and your confidence is right, then it'll take you a long way. If it ain't right, then you are below average man. Nikki, jump back in. What you think?
I just think that, like I said, you know, and there was a couple comments up here. I think where is it at? Mirage had posted something about the names are not transposing over. He said he's soft. But ironically, many women request this behavior, then talk bad about him. I'd never do this shit like that, but I get his point.
What women request this behavior?
Yeah, I could get.
There was a lot of people co-siding on him, and that's what we'll get to the double standards in about 10 minutes. But that's where the lies come in, because they want to feel sorry for him and say she wrong and he don't deserve that. But you yourself do not want to date somebody that's a marshmallow like that. You don't. But
there are women who do like that, though. There are women who like a marshmallow. There are women who and I'm coming to learn there's a lot of women who like those kind of men. Do what?
They want the marshmallow who's gonna spend all their money.
Like that type of man.
Or there is a you know what? And you know what the funny thing is?
Domineering, controlling woman.
Yes,
who...
there you go, Ivory. I was gonna say other insecure women really don't attract to him. They like people who are more aggressive and dominant, but dominating women like men like that because
they're pushovers. They're easier
to. They can devour them, and eventually they'll spit them out too, and move
absolutely
on.
We'll take advantage of him. Absolutely will. And that's a fucked up thing.
I still have to say this: the truth of the matter is, most women are not domineering and controlling in that way, where they want that type of man. That is probably,
let me say this,
15% of the female population. Most women are not.
Most women are not attracted to that man either.
No.
It also sounds like that's not the first time that happened to him.
Right. Like he's really upset.
He's been through that before. Yeah.
I don't know why this keeps happening.
So again, it speaks to the point of in this particular case, it speaks to the point and the truth of women not handling their business, right? And letting him know I'm not interested, or I'm no longer interested, or whatever needs to be honestly said to communicate the message, besides just setting a date and then literally no call, no show. That is rude. Like, don't be rude. Like, that is rude and inconsiderate. However, I'm with Ivory on this one. That is not the type of man that I desire.
Let me tell you something. Let me be mannish for a second. Tell you something. Men, and I ain't talking about Ivory and Nikki. I'm saying if you would have saw the comments in the section supporting and sympathizing with this man, you would have thought that there were tons of women lining up. Oh, I would have loved to date him. They are lying. Let me tell you something. You don't listen to women and everything. There's times where you do not need to listen to women because they like to say the right thing. Maybe it's their nurturing maternity nature that wants to feel sorry. Anytime somebody cried, and they you know, a lot of women have a soft spot for a crier to some degree.
Right.
But they lying. They don't want to be with nobody like that. And all of this, as much as women will complain, I'm not talking about individual, but in general, about men not being in touch with their emotions, although women would hope that men were more in touch with their emotions, they don't want that. And if there's one side of the spectrum or the other, they prefer you be a man and act like a man. Let me tell you this too, because also, at the end of the day, women are going to lean towards the example that they have from their father. And you're talking about men in the 50s, 60s, 70s, different type of men. And that's what they're going to lean toward. They're not going to lean toward this modern day man. The modern day man, like you saw right there, that didn't really exist much in the 60s, 70s, 50s, whatever, when we growing up. That didn't exist. So if you try to present that to a woman, they are going to friend zone you immediately within 30 minutes. And after you keep trying to make advances when you've already been friend zoned, then you'll be ghosted. That's the way that works out. Don't listen to women. Listen to a real man that'll tell you how to be a man, and you might have a chance. Feel free to rebut me.
I don't have much to disagree.
I don't have a rebuttal.
I don't. I think that you can still be sensitive to somebody in that situation, but it doesn't change the facts. Like, it's just too much. For me, it's just too much. It's too much. That doesn't mean that I don't want a man to be in touch with his emotions. That doesn't mean I don't want a man to know what his emotional caliber is. That doesn't mean that he's wrong for feeling how he felt. I just have a thing for people who cry on social media. It'd be one thing if he went home and cried, right? And he got that shit out and he processed and he figured it out and he's like, all right, fuck this bitch, I can call her no more, right? But like, no, he went to the internets from the restaurant at that, all the clankety clanks in the background and the sounds of the bar in the restaurant. Like, he went live from the restaurant in his miseries. And I'm not making fun of Buddy, but that's just not it. That's just not it. Do I think that that's weak?
Yes, it's weak. Just like Keke Palmer's ex baby daddy, that's weak too. You throwing that up there on social media and you deflecting, talking about you a mother, you ain't supposed to be doing that. That's weak. That's so weak. Just say, like, if you want to say something like, hey, I got stood up. My feelings hurt a little bit. Man, wasn't expecting that.
Hey,
but your boy gonna bounce
like
back.
A G, like, man, I wasn't expecting y'all that. And then said, man, ladies, tell me what y'all think about this. Nobody would have been like, but you crying? I want to be a husband.
Your little soft-spoken voice talking about I did everything. And see, that tells, like, what did you, who raised you? And what type of relationships did you could not have had any type of substantial relationship and not face some type of rejection.
Right. And by that point, by that age, you had to have been rejected before.
Nikki, I learned this early at Highland Mall. And you look,
Saturday,
Highland Mall, Friday night, Saturday night. I'm gonna go to Highland Mall. I might get rejected like 7 times, but I'm gonna get 3 numbers. I'm gonna get 7 no's and I'm gonna get 3 yeses. And at the end of the day, I got my yeses. I ain't gonna sit there and trip about who told me no or not right now. Or I got a boyfriend, whatever. That's fine. I got my 3. But if you can't handle any form of rejection, you do not need to be in a relationship. And I don't know where you've been for the last 20 years, especially at this age.
And rejection is an interesting thing. I want to say that, like, I being single now, as long as I've been single, I've definitely experienced rejection. And as a woman, that really wasn't something I was.
Okay. I said you've experienced rejection.
Yeah, being rejected for sure. Okay. And so, like, as a woman,
rejection.
Do what?
We see things we like that we can't get.
Absolutely.
But are you directly rejected, or you just kind of shrugged off a little? Like,
no,
women
but
don't get
for a woman to be rejected, I don't think that that's the standard operating procedure in the dating world, right? I think it's customary, unfortunately, that men generally feel more of a rejection, quantity, simply because men generally do the hunting, right? Men are generally the ones that are going to approach women. So in society where men are usually approaching women, I think men unfortunately just get used to rejection earlier than women do, because oftentimes we are not rejected. And there's different levels, obviously, right? So back to the same point, like, dude is old enough to have been rejected. That doesn't mean that one should get used to being rejected because it feels crummy, but you should,
no, you
right?
should get used to being rejected.
You have to learn how to be told no.
Right.
Like, we teach our children this.
Let me go a step further with that, Nikki. Not only getting used to it, but learning how to handle a no. One of the things I hate the most is a man that doesn't know how to handle a no.
Right.
So you try to act like you're a gentleman. I try to come to you. Hey, can I take you out sometime? And then she said, oh, no, not right now. Well, man, F you then, B. You being stuck up. I ain't want you in the front. Like, dude.
And it be like that.
I know. And it's like, you don't know how to gracefully handle a no or a not right now, or I'm not interested, or you're not my type without saying it. Then you gotta say, just no thank you. Okay, well, I'm not your, hey, no problem. Have a nice evening.
And listen, can we just be honest? There are people who are good people in other areas of their lives. But when it comes to relationships, however they were raised, cultivated, they're brutal. They're users. There are a lot of things that make them unpalatable when it comes to
I'm really glad you said that. I'm really glad you said that.
Two different people. And so when you come with the posture that he has, you're opening yourself up to be the punching bag of these types of people. So, and I always say that because I had it like a little phase, like in college maybe, where I did have this like attitude, because sometimes the corniest dudes want the most socially sophisticated girls, right? Like they just really like, why? Like,
aim high.
Why? Why are you doing this? Like, I know 15 girls who would like your corny self, but like, here you are over here trying to talk to me. And so there was a moment I had, like, whatever comes out of this and however you end up feeling, like, you deserve it. Because this is a ridiculous stance that you have, that you have enough confidence for this when you obviously don't. Anyway, because a lot of what they do is that crying is like relational manipulation. They do a lot of whining and complaining and crying to try to get you to do things, not actually being a confident man to get you to do it. It happens on the other side too. I used to tell, it's not just big girls, but this happens a lot with big girls, right? Stop paying for love. You know, like, it's obvious.
Coming around income tax season.
Will take you if a check come with it. But sweetheart, like, you big, you don't gotta pay for love. It's somebody out there that'll love you without you paying for it. So this is not just a man problem. I've seen women have this problem too, but there are people out here that will take advantage of that attitude if you keep it.
Hell yeah, they will, because they see him as a weakened type of man.
Yeah, it is. It ain't even how we see you.
They will be able to steamroll and roll over him. So he don't want that type of energy. He better get him a woman who knows how to be on his level and communicate and just process on his level, because he is going to get the wrong woman. And then we create a system of men who fucking hate more women. And that's the last thing we need.
Yeah. Boo. Yeah, I'll try. Don't buy that. Don't buy that. That's an excuse. You were already headed down that path before it happened. Or that type. Rejection. Yes, your actions led to more rejection, and you're going to use that to fuel the reason why.
Absolutely.
That's already who you that was in your DNA.
But you know that's where it goes.
It is, and people, people love to deflect and blame something on other people. Lisa, you about to say something? Oh, you muted.
Mic check. No,
you fine.
I was going to say, I was glad to hear Ivory's comment, and even beyond this particular conversation, in some other conversations I've been hearing lately, from some very inflammatory dialogue from certain individuals that aren't on here right now, but that I've seen in certain comments and things like that. Anyway, good man or a good woman or real woman is relative. Okay. We got a lot of people out here talking about that's why women this, that's why men that, blah, blah, blah. But I have exes that would fit the good man category. And then I have exes that don't fit the good man category, but proclaim themselves to be based on certain things that they were willing to offer, willing to give, willing to do. But that wasn't necessarily what I was looking to receive. And so they call themselves a good man, quote unquote, because that's how they see themselves. But that's not necessarily how others see them for whatever reason. And, that's offensive, and it stings to think that, you're doing all this for someone else and they're not appreciating it because you feel that you're a good man. Like that guy said in the video, I'm doing everything and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. I don't understand why nobody wants me. Nobody likes me. You have self-esteem issues.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You think you're a good man and you're doing everything else, but you're not looking at the thing, whatever that thing is, you're not looking at the thing that keeps getting you rejected, that keeps you from getting what you want, whether it's not going after a woman on your level or the way you're behaving toward that, the particular women you're going after, whatever it is, you can feel like you're a good man or you can feel like you're a good woman, but you also have to understand that might not necessarily be what that person is receiving that you're going after.
Absolutely. If somebody says, I'm a good father, why are you a good father? Because I give my kids everything they want and they ask for. That don't make you a good father.
Right.
Just because you try to cater to someone's thoughts and opinions and feelings. And no, it's, there's other things involved with that. So,
it's interesting that you said that, Lisa, because there was a conversation that I was a part of earlier today, which I'm sure you're referring to some of the same inflammatory individuals that I may be referring to.
Inflammatory, these big words coming up.
I'm saying that
Mic check. Can I be heard?
I wrote out 3 paragraphs, okay, to write in the comments, and then I was like, no, that's too much.
Oh, yes. So the conversation I had gotten involved in, the word that I used was safe, right? And there was a gentleman who responded that men can basically be as safe as they can possibly be, and we're still not satisfied. And I said, men don't get to decide when men are safe or not in the conversation of whether a woman is proclaiming him to be a safe space for her or not. So to your point about claiming to be a good man or a good woman, and that doesn't mean that you're not doing good things. That doesn't mean that you don't have positive qualities. It doesn't mean that you're not better than your dad or better than your brother or better than so on. It doesn't mean that you're not good. But
absolutely,
there are components to that, and that could be different per person, but you might not always be the best judge of character when trying to grade yourself.
Understood.
So I agree with you. I wholeheartedly agree. Yohukanan, you were trying to jump in. Sorry.
No, I was just checking my mic, making sure I was heard, because I kept jumping in and out. Technical difficulties. Just making sure you heard.
Keep jumping in and out. And change your profile picture. You ain't got no locks no more. They gone.
He sure done that. Cut them all off, man.
All this is gone. Show your fade.
Another time. It's a little dark right now where I'm at. Time.
Okay, let me ask a question. We're running past, but that's all right. I ain't tripping. What makes a weak man?
Ladies.
Should we define what weak is first?
I'm telling you what in your opinion. I could tell you easy one first. A man that doesn't keep his word. That's the first one, easy.
True, but what is weak? Not what are things that are weak, but what is weak, so we can have a basis.
Well, weak
of
isn't
again.
I think Lisa said that it's a subjective term. Like weak is an eye to beholder. What would you consider?
Low self-esteem. Fear of rejection.
All of those
I
things.
agree with those too. I'm asking, yeah, I agree with those. You hooping on ladies. What, in your opinion, what makes a weak man?
A man that is not accountable, not responsible, is not in control of his emotions.
Objective, lacking the power to perform physically demanding tasks, lacking physical strength and energy, liable to break or give way under pressure, easily damaged, lacking intensity or brightness. So depending on how you want to look at the word weak, for me, ultimately, it's a weakening in the chain.
I bet you. He said, you reading that from the papers. That like the standard definition.
You was running down that. You was running down that definition. I was saying if you was reading it or something. Go ahead.
I was on the Googles. I'm on the World Wide Web.
But see, Nikki, this is where I disagree. Gotcha. I bet you more than half women, when they talk about a man being weak, the first thing that comes across their mind is not even about a physical thing.
Agree.
It's kind of like what Ivory said. Physical. I mean, mental.
Mental.
Agree.
Are you stable?
Agree.
Like even in a corporate world, you know, the first way we call somebody weak, like if they fall out of the corporate setting, they get an attitude, they snap off. Like you remember when Dave Chappelle, keeping it real goes wrong. He started barking at him and like, yo, you don't know how to maintain in certain settings. You allowed your emotions to get the best of you.
I agree.
That's a sign of weakness.
I agree.
And that goes back to even what we talking about with this clip right here. You allowed your emotions to put you out. You allowed your emotions to cause you to reach for sympathy. And that's what that post was. You are reaching for sympathy.
Yeah, when a man in any way, so whether that's you're crying or
no ambition, that's a good one.
Or you're overly aggressive or whatever, like any of it is just a lack of control of your emotions. So like a lack of self-control. That's pretty weak to me.
I agree. Did we mention insecurity? And I know that insecurities definitely are derived from something, right? But when your insecurities have taken control over your logic, you know, your rationality, because then they turn into an inferiority complex. So you are then subconsciously or unsubconsciously comparing yourself and measuring yourself up to every man and every woman. And you're going to always find something wrong with them to pull you up, push them down, and you operate from that space. So insecurity leads to inferiority. And inferiority in a relationship, there's never going to be any fucking harmony. You're always going to be at some kind of discourse with this person.
Or competition.
Competition, yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And you're not supposed to be in competition with your mate. For me, you know, you may have competitive spirits in certain things, right? But my man is not supposed to be competing against me, and I'm not supposed to be competing against my man.
Or I'm not supposed to be competing with other men.
True that.
That too.
I was gonna say too, and I know it's not. I'm not gonna say a lot of women, but I know it is the case for many women that they have never actually dealt with a strong man. Because a strong man would not deal with them.
True.
So a lot of times women like,
can you elaborate on that a little further? Can I get some specificity use on that?
Yeah, no. So like a lot of times women wonder why, like, man, it seems like I always end up with a weak dude or a controlling dude or some crying dude. But it's like strong dudes kind of sniff you from a mile away. And their idea of being strong is not fighting with you. So many women think like, I'm going to be able to do all this arguing and I'm going to be able to say all of this stuff I want to say. And a strong man, like strength is not, that's a weak man when they think strength is backing you down or arguing you down or getting you, you know, that's weak. A strong man, like,
we're gonna get into that about submission soon. Hopefully,
I'm not doing any of that. I'm just not gonna be with you. Right. Strong men ain't gonna be with no woman like that. So I hear a lot of women like, we're the strong men. And I'm like, they run from you.
Right. Strong men are not bullies. Thank you.
Strong men are not bullies. Weak men are bullies. Strong men may be strong men physically, but strong men emotionally are not bullies. They're not. That's not a strong man. It goes back to the lack of self-control, the lack of controlling emotions, the lack of regulating emotions. And just because a person may not have those qualities down packed to a fucking T yet, but at this point we should, doesn't mean that how you feel is necessarily wrong, but how you go about showing and expressing it is absolutely where the weakened part comes into play, because you're not coming to your partner or the next person with solution-based mentality. You're coming with problem, self-centered, argumentative, inflammatory, type of energy, and that's weak sauce, man.
The simplest thing, anytime a person, man or woman, feels like they have to lower you or lower another gender or lower another race or lower something else in order to raise themselves, that's a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
And we see that all the freaking time where women got to talk bad about men, or men got to talk bad about women. Why do you have to lower another entity in order to raise yourself? That's a sign of weakness.
Because they
I can raise you up. I can raise up a man, a woman, white, black, whatever. I can raise everybody up, and that don't take nothing away from me because I know who I am. And you being elevated or you being low, that doesn't affect me.
Quinn, no, these ladies think got beside themselves. They need to be checked.
Who are you saying that about?
Obviously. From looking at our thread, I mean, the ladies need to be put in their place. Now somebody got to do it.
Somebody got to do it. Somebody got to do it. Okay, so let me ask you before we jump off of this, because I think we might get to that submission part in a second. How emotional is too emotional? This is more specifically for the ladies, directed towards men. How emotional is too emotional?
I think it's very subjective in the sense. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I can't stand when people whine. Like, I have a child. I don't need it from a man. Express yourself. Use your words. Be mature. But not, like, I can't stand that shit. So, yeah.
I learned that in my 20s.
I just think there's a way to communicate without making a person feel like everything they do is just a problem.
Okay, Lisa, let me ask you this though. Mm-hmm. Because women will oftentimes, I ain't saying you, I ain't saying all women, but women will oftentimes whine and complain in ways that, like a lot of women, they don't want you to, just because I whine and complain, that don't mean I want you to do it also. Like, so do you believe that even though you don't want
Is this a segue into the double standard conversation?
No, I ain't even got there yet. I ain't got there yet because I got one more thing I'm gonna say. But like, so even if, I'm not saying you are, but even if you know some people who are women who are kind of whiners or naggers or whatever the case is, that don't mean that should be reciprocated by men. Do you feel that way, or what do you feel about that?
No, I don't. And everybody's different. And I'm the type of person that I encourage being checked, because for me as well, and I'm not saying that I'm above whining ever, never have, never what I have. But I'm very upfront, and I let the person know, if you catch that, tell me. You know what I'm saying? Give me the opportunity to learn and to grow and all that stuff. But some people can't handle, the flip side of that.
Right.
So I think when I say whining, I mean that like in almost the literal sense. I don't mean telling me that there's a problem.
You mean like that man that was just on that video right there?
Yes, like that. Yes.
That's fine. Nikki, how emotional is too emotional when it comes?
I'm okay with a man showing emotions. I applaud a man for showing emotions. I actually am honored to be in a space with men who will show their emotion around me. So I'm okay with men having emotion because I think that that's important. But there is a fine line. And I say the same thing about women. There's a fine line for us too. Just because we're girls doesn't mean that we can just fucking whine and cry and whine and bitch and whine and whine. Again, it's in a problem-based mentality versus a solution-based mentality. So if you need to cry to get some shit out, if you need to cry to fucking let it out of your spirit, if you need to cry to figure out where we need to go to the next, if you got to stomp your feet and holler and scream because you're frustrated, overwhelmed, overstimulated, I get it. I feel like that sometimes too, but I've also learned how to harness those emotions in a way where they're more productive, where they are less destructive, and they take a lot less fucking energy. So I'm okay with, I want my man to be in tune with his emotions so that it takes away the anger, the aggression, the frustration, the bully, the dominating, the controlling. When you know what your emotions are, when you can identify what they are, it's a lot easier to fucking deal with them. And then, I too like to create a space where it's okay to have emotion for my man. I want to create that safe space for him as I want him to create for me.
Twice a year. You get to
you get twice a year. I mean, he ain't gonna be crying all the goddamn time.
You get to cry twice a year. As a man, you get to cry twice a year. That's your maximum.
It's a twice
That's
a
your
year.
maximum. Twice a year.
Wow, twice a
more
year.
Than twice a year. That's a
I
problem.
think that's fair. I don't think that's fair. If somebody told me I can only cry twice a year,
we talked about double standards. I'm gonna tell you
I cry twice a week sometimes. It might be twice a day sometimes.
Double standards. I guarantee if your man cry more than twice a year, you're gonna be looking like
no.
Okay.
No.
That's a bit of a stretch, isn't it? A man cry twice a year.
Let me
That's
tell
a bit
you,
of a stretch, isn't it?
It's not. And let me modify this and make sure. To publicly cry in front of people more than twice a year. I cry.
Well,
often.
That's a good modification.
Yeah, no, I cry
publicly often. Crying versus, in your
that's
private
what I'm saying.
space.
You shouldn't be public. Listen, every time I get my kids over the summer, I have them all summer long. Every single year, when they go back home, I go somewhere in my room and I cry every single time.
Right.
That don't mean I'm crying in front of everybody, though.
Well, sure.
Like,
I don't cry in front of everybody either.
Versus public. You don't public as a man.
Now, in public, that's a different story.
But I go to your closet.
Right.
And you get it out. And then
I will.
Together, and then you come back out.
I will say this. I will say this. If you're in a public setting, like if you're in a group setting, you're expressing your emotions, or you're expressing like something you experience or whatnot. You can't control your emotions. Like if you're in some type of group therapy session, or you just sitting around, y'all just chilling and whatnot, y'all topic of conversation comes up and it hits a certain nerve, there's a point where you just can't control your emotions. At that point, you just got to let it out. And we've grown up in this society, as far as Black men, that you're not supposed to cry. Like you're not supposed to shed a tear. They don't. We're not told or taught that it's okay to cry, even in the public eye. We're taught to hold that in and toughen up and all of that stuff. But what I'm saying is, there comes a point in time where us men, we just can't contain our emotions, and we just have to let it out in one form or another. And it may be in the public setting. That invitation is a bit much, but I'm just saying you just can't control your emotions at that point. As far as that goes, that's man. I gotta get to the house. That
happens. That's cool. That's one. You got one.
Gotta get to the house, man.
As long as it's one of your 2 times, then you all right. And the only exception to that is if you go to church. Men get to cry at church, and then it don't count against you.
That doesn't count as a public setting, right there.
Nope.
As far as that goes.
When you caught up in the spirit, then hey, that wasn't me. The spirit caught me.
Oh, so you're gonna blame it on the spirit for you crying?
No, ain't no exception.
You gonna blame it on the spirit, huh?
No, I'm not even saying for our sake. I'm saying in a relationship. If a man cried every other Sunday, he was at church and he praise and worship this and this and that, they're not gonna count that against him. Like, oh, he's just crying all the time. No, he's having an intimate experience with his creator, and I'm not gonna count that against him. Outside of that, got two.
Think about how many men we had over the years come to Meeting of the Minds or Free Thinkers when we met in person who cried on Tuesday nights. And I'm not saying boo-hoo cried, but definitely shared their share of tears in the intimate setting in which we had. What?
They ain't cry that much. Wasn't nobody crying.
There was definitely some men who had some tears
more
shed.
Than twice in a year.
I guess, because I come from and I don't know, maybe this is a different setting, right? But like in a therapeutic background, we have group setting 4 days a week. Every single night there's somebody who's crying, and they're not crying because they're crying, whining. They're crying because they're, like, to Yuhukanon's point, you can't control some emotions. And to his point, not being able to express emotions is killing men. So there has to be a way where it is okay, but it has to be harnessed in a way where it's also productive. Crying all the time is not it.
And Anita, I see that not true about church. That can be applied in all areas. It doesn't make an individual. So y'all gotta show me in real life examples where a man gets to cry every single month, and they be like, "Oh no, he all right, he good." Show me where and show me when. Go ahead, sir. Yes.
I want to add a couple shekels to that. To what she was saying in regards to people holding it in, and they have to let it out at some point. When people hold their emotions in and bottle their emotions in, and they keep it bottled up, it's gonna come to a certain point to where they're gonna reach that boiling point to where they have to let it out. They can't contain it because they've been holding it in for so long. They just can't contain that type of emotion. So when somebody tells you that you're not supposed to cry, toughen up, hold it in, and you're taught this, and you practice this, and you get into one of the sessions that Nikki was alluding to, and it's all bottled up and in, it's gonna come to a point to where you're gonna hit that tipping point, and it's an uncontrollable emotion to where you have to let it out because you kept it bottled in so much, and stuff like that eats people alive when they keep that bottom of emotions in and they can't let it out because because they will feel that they're weak to a certain degree as far as not letting those emotions out, like doing it in a private setting or whatever the case may be.
And that's what I said. Number one, I didn't say you couldn't cry in a private setting. That's number one. And then number two, I think y'all, I don't know who's missing what I'm saying. It's not saying that it's wrong.
I was adding to Nikki's point, brother.
Of a year. And that's why I'm disagreeing with Nikki, because it's not about how healthy it is or how much you should be able to cry. It's about what's socially acceptable. And what I'm saying is, if you're talking about wanting to be attractive to the opposite sex or to a partner or to a spouse or something else, you only get so many times before they like.
And who determined that rule?
Society.
Well, let me jump in.
Society said a man is allowed to cry 2 times in a year in public setting.
You show me.
Show me where that's at.
No.
Show me where that's at.
You show me where a man.
Show me where that's at.
And ain't no woman
got
no problem with it.
Brother, show me where that's at, because I ain't heard that.
Did you just hear?
Go ahead.
No.
I heard what you said. I heard what you said. Go ahead, sister.
Okay. So tell me, give me an example of a man who cries consistently, and women are attracted to him. They have no problem with it. It's fine. There's no issue. Show me where. Just give me a name, give me an example of someone who cries on a regular basis and it's all gravy.
So I was gonna say,
well, I left the question out there for an answer, Ivory.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
And I have an answer to your question. So
Oh, you have one?
I'm not
I
just
don't.
making
So I
stuff
was
up.
just waiting
No.
to see
People just
somebody
can't
else
go
wanted to
around crying
answer
all the
this
time, and
question.
everybody think it's cool. It's cool.
No,
it's
I was
sexy,
gonna.
it's attractive. It's powerful. No, they don't.
I think the number maybe is where we're missing it. I think people are hung up that you said too. I think you were just putting a number out there, but I think people are hung up on the number. But I was gonna say, definitely most women I know are not attracted to people who cry a lot. But it's within, if your partner is being vulnerable with you, and there's some caveats to how they're vulnerable with you, right? You're vulnerable with me, you end up crying or having a moment, and it's not directly related to me, about me, you crying about me or anything that has to do with this relationship. That's one caveat, right? Second caveat, whether it's fair or not, women do not want to hear men actually cry about their responsibilities. You only got, now I will give you this, you only got about once or twice in a year to cry about paying these bills, working, how hard this is.
Nah,
We don't really want,
crap about that.
we don't really, that's not attractive. We don't really like that. Now, the deep desires of your heart, things going wrong, you know, family, parents, we want you to share your heart with us. We want to carry your emotional burdens. We do not want to carry your responsibilities. We don't want the pain of your responsibilities. Most women don't want that weight. We want your relational weight. We want to carry that with you. So it matters what you're crying about, how many times we let you cry.
I agree with that.
Agree.
Okay, whatever. I ain't gonna keep saying the same thing over and over. That's fine.
But I've had some male friends who do a lot of crying, and nobody. We was like, how you ain't gonna get no girl like that?
Nikki, do you have a male friends who do a lot of crying?
You ain't get no girl like that.
No.
No.
Lisa,
I
do
mean,
you have?
No, I mean we've obviously had some tearful moments, right? And like you said, in the nature of conversations, the nature of grief and support and just loss, right? But like, no, just men who just generally just cry type shit. Nah, like I could probably count on one hand all the years, I saw my dad cry. I can probably count on one hand all the years I, saw my children's father cry. And then the men that are friends, like I said, there's been some hit or miss, scenarios, right? But generally they're not criers. But I
can't see you. Do you have a lot of male friends in your circle who cry?
Who are you talking to?
Yehukana.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. What happened, brother?
I said, do you have a lot of, or do you have any or a lot of male friends in your circle who cry often?
No, not really. As far as like shedding a tear?
Yeah.
Nah, Oh.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know if that I don't know.
Not all, but we share tear in front of each other before, but we don't do it like on a regular basis. We express our frustrations, and whatnot.
So when I think when
we don't get emotional and cry.
Right. Yeah, I think when women talk about they want men to be more vulnerable and emotional and be in touch with their feelings. It's not that they want men to do it all the time. It's just that I really think it is. I want the man to know that he can be emotional or vulnerable. Like you said, since I don't really ever see you cry or show any type of sorrowful emotion outside of anger, which that's not what we, there's other emotions besides anger. We don't need you to only be angry all the time. And I think women are really just saying, if or when that time comes, it's okay for you to express those feelings. Now with that being said,
don't record that shit and go online.
That don't mean we want you. I agree with twice, but I understand not. You don't have to do it a lot.
Right.
And it's purely not a number. I really say twice just to say it better be damn important or really reasonable for you to cry.
Well, usually it is if a man cries out.
No, it ain't. A death in the family. Hey,
I say usually
some type of law.
You can't speak for the whole demographic of men. You know what I'm saying? Break it up into percentages.
Of course, I can speak for the whole demographic. I might be wrong, but
not all men not all men cry on a regular basis like that, or having reasons
but out
to
of
cry.
5 people, none of us have real time examples.
Unless you do a ratio
of that happening. I just went all the way around. Nobody has examples of anybody that we know or in our circle who actually practice what we say should be accepted.
Not in my current circle, but I've known men who cry a lot.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
How did you feel?
And is this topic
did they feel like strong men to you?
Is it just so taboo because for so long, like, men are not supposed to cry? Like, are we just having an aversion to men crying because society has said men can't because they're not supposed to? Like, if we took it all away.
The other part is women reinforce it because women let you get in a fight or argument. Oh man, it's all coming back up.
What an awful woman.
Oh, when they emotional, it ain't no bounds.
What kind of emotions do these women have? What an awful thing to do to somebody.
Ivory, but that happens all the time.
I'm sorry.
As far as giving a man a tongue lashing or something.
Next time you crying about your such then you go cry on your mama's shoulder. Like all of that stuff will end up coming back out.
People do that? That's awful.
Absolutely. I agree. That's half of the reason why men don't really disclose a lot of stuff because women, and I hate to speak, I'm generalizing right now, but oftentimes women have, but these are this is it's general. I'm generalizing because it's true. When a woman is, they don't carry the same filter and they will anything. They'll go off and anything that any secret that you've divulged, any of your intimate stuff, they'll it's like
I'm sorry,
the comedians did that before.
I can't imagine.
Well, next time you think about killing yourself, then you go to somebody like, whoa, dang, you just cutting deep.
You know what? This guy that I know, whose mom passed away, I think maybe a couple years ago, and he's definitely written on social media about how this was, easily the greatest loss of his life, right? Fucked him up. Like he talks about his mom in ways that I identify how I have experienced grief with losing my dad. So this is a big thing for him, right? To have lost his mom. And he posted something months ago that was basically, and he deleted it as soon as he fucking posted it. And it was like, how many times is a motherfucker supposed to hear something about your dead ass mama before you finally fucking snap? And I was like, oh my God, is he fucking with a chick who's saying shit like that about his mama? Like when he's having those moments, those private moments where he's clearly, having some grief, missing his mama, just like, that may be the only person he had this corner in his life. And he's got this chick who clearly must be throwing in his face something about him having cry episodes about his mom. Like, why the fuck would you do that to somebody?
And Ivory, you think about one of my ex-girlfriends.
Oh, listen.
Just think about it, and I'm not just making this up. It's coming from somewhere. You know what I'm talking about. That was on a regular basis.
I know, but I don't know a lot of ladies like her.
A lot. And I have a lot of conversations with a lot of people, men and women. And then women, the crazy thing is women just blow it off. Yeah, I was just upset at the time.
I was tripping that day. I was tripping.
Right. I shouldn't have said it, no big deal. I'm like, you ain't set the bridge on fire. You just nuked that bridge. And you just be like,
and get left.
I shouldn't have
just
get
left. That's my I don't have any sympathy for people who are reckless with their mouth like that. Like just get left in.
Yep.
this is, I've told my friends this, good friends, when they say something, I say, you said that out loud? Well, I just, be quiet. Don't tell me why. Don't tell me an excuse. Don't tell me you don't have enough self-control not to be that reckless with your mouth.
Right.
And like,
Thank you.
I'm not even a good friend if I let you give me an excuse right now why you would let something like that fall out your mouth.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't play that.
Watch what you say.
I don't play that. No.
So
No, I definitely am not down with a reckless mouth. Not on a woman for sure, and I speak coming from a woman's place, and I definitely am not with that shit when it comes to a man either. But women being reckless with their mouth, absolutely unacceptable. There's no excuse.
So we may not have time to get to another subject, but maybe we might get to touch on it for a second. We got about 15 minutes left, but let me this is what
That is like at the top of my list in regards to women. I can't stand a woman with a reckless mouth.
Reckless mouth.
Can't stand it.
Yeah, and I was telling somebody this too, and for me, it is reckless is bad, but I guess for a man, you being reckless in public is something totally different.
Yeah.
There's certain things, if it's even as reckless as bad, if it's done in private, we can come back from that. There's certain things you do in public, then it's really hard to come back from.
Yeah.
Because not only have you, it goes beyond I had a moment. You are literally devaluing me to our circle and the people that we deal with. That it just means something, and that goes men and women. When you openly degrade your partner, you devalue them in front of the people who you're, and like, so it's not only have you taken away a lot from me as far as how you've presented me, but you've taken away my ability to champion you. See, because if I was talking about how you such a great woman and you this and supportive and this and this and that, and then you do that in public, I don't even have any legs to stand on to say, hey, that you're a great person. I can't even say that in front of our friends or my family or my company when you've done that. It's like, no, nigga, I seen the way she talked to you. You can't even, like, it's not even. So now you've muzzled me from even being able to openly support. Like you like I said, you nuked that bridge. You ain't even just set the bridge on fire. You nuked it. Mm-hmm. Let me say this real quick. I don't know how much time we got left, but now let me tell you, I went along with this because I'm trying to be a good sport. I've realized one of my biggest new pet peeves is this trolling, fake stories, and people respond to it and think that it's real. This little simp dude, as much as we talked about him, my first thing, I'm like, he's trolling. This is one of those things that goes for likes and grabs, and it's a content creator type of story. I'm gonna keep preaching this. Let me tell you one thing. Number one, ask yourself, why did this go viral? These things go viral because they're put on platforms that already have a large followership to them. There's oh, absolutely. Not just clout chasing. They do this for profit. A lot of these people who are these large content creators, they live very well off of the content that they create. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to wait for content to come up. They're going to create the content in order to keep getting these checks. Mm-hmm. So the reason that you're seeing this, even though you ain't never met this dude and nobody he knows, it's already on a platform that pushes content like this, and they are the ones who create it. Mm-hmm. Number two, I don't know who watches enough podcasting type shows. I watch a lot of them. That's probably the majority of what I watch. I watch a lot of podcasts. There's certain templates that they set up when they do podcasts. So one of the things where you can tell when someone's trolling you, because I thought, yeah, he a simp. This sounds a little bit over the top. Oh, yeah, he really, working this in, really trying to grab people's emotions. And then when I knew for sure, when he said, ladies, tell me what y'all think. What should I have done different? Part of them getting the money is the responses, the likes, the comments, the sharing. That's a part of monetizing. If you pay attention to podcasts, every single one does that. Like, okay, well, you tell me what you think. You know, and they'll ask a question because they have to invoke response, because that's what drives the numbers up, the activity up, and that's what spreads it out more. And his emotional response is, ladies, tell me what y'all think. Should I have done something? That's the typical line every single time, where they drag people in to get more because they want you to respond. That's where the money comes in at. The clicks.
Yeah, I just said clickbait and the algorithm as well.
It works my nerves because people taking this like it's real life, and they're gonna take a hard stance one way or another and further get more separated from the opposite sex or gender or race or whatever, based off of somebody who just making money off of you.
Thank you. And I totally agree. And the only times, like oftentimes somebody will send me a YouTube video or something like that, and you can see it's clearly a setup. But you get in those comments and people just go so hard for, you know, one side or the other. And I'm like, do you not understand that this was literally staged, as real as it may come across to you? But I will say this also, even some of the ones that are staged, you know, people like that in real life. You know what I'm saying? So that these conversations,
Lisa, that's
like
the
we're having
only
now,
reason I just
can
gave
happen.
this 45 minutes of my conversation, because I know it represents real stories, even though that this itself was staged. Other than that, I never would have talked about it. It gets on my nerve talking about it, but I know it does happen, so I'm like, I'll at least entertain it. Even about, we did this a while ago with the woman who said, you got to buy all my kids McDonald's. You can't just buy your son McDonald's. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
That was staged too. And then you go back, look on their channel, and they just doing videos left and right about all this stuff. But that's all I got about that. I don't know if we have time to go into double. Well, we can skip the double standard part.
It's all about that dollar bills, y'all.
You know what? I ain't mad at them. If you're making a living off of it, it's hard out here in these streets. Like a born every minute. Don't get paid off. Nikki, do you want to touch on, because I guess there was a post earlier today that kind of sparked up some conversation. You want to touch on that for the next 10-15 minutes?
Sure, because you know, when you type these types of conversations, things can be lost in the translations, literally, right? So you know, I don't deny that maybe there was some messages possibly being received in ways that maybe they weren't necessarily being sent. Are we frozen? Am I frozen? I'm seeing things go in circle. Are we good?
Yeah,
you're good.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So a couple. I blew this. So I guess maybe like 2 days ago, I posted on the Facebook Freethinkers page a meme that I saw online that I thought was fantastic, and so I posted it to my personal page, and then a couple days later, somebody that I know messaged me in my inbox and was like, you know, shared the post back to me and said, what would it take to get you out of this space, being survival mode?
Oh, player. Sorry.
So I replied with what, so, you know, it took me a couple minutes and I thought about it and I said, okay, well, you know, being in survival mode, what would it take to get me out of survival mode into submission mode, right? Into wanting to submit. And so I gave my response, and there was a few women who definitely agreed and understood the sentiment. Had a few people also respond and was like, oh, that's a really interesting conversation. So I said, well, let me just go ahead and share it on over to Freethinkers. Like, what better place to get a wide perspective of, you know, feedback than over at Freethinkers, right? With 630 people, there's got to be some good responses. So I literally post the same meme. You want her to submit, take her out of survival mode. I posted over to Freethinkers and I said, I posted on my page a few days ago, subsequently asked what would it take to get me out. I replied, that's loaded, but ultimately safety. A safe man, an emotionally safe man, one whose actions match words, and unwavering love and respect. the response from my friend was that I bet that's the same for most women. And that's pretty much where our conversation ended. So then I said, okay, well, what better place to get perspective? So I brought it here. I said, feel free to comment about the post itself or the nature of his question. Curious, ladies, if you feel the sentiment of this meme, what would it take to get you out of survival mode? And the responses immediately were men. Immediately.
I thought you were clear.
Do what?
I thought you were clear in what you were asking. The response
You
that
asked
you
women
got
and a
from
bunch
a
of
couple
men
of
chimed in?
individuals.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
The
kind of what I
response that you
reiterated
got
a
was
few
not,
different times.
yeah,
I
yeah.
asked each
No,
of
you were
them
clear.
when they responded with their experience of apparently being a woman in survival mode. I asked them, how long have you been a woman in survival mode? First of all, I'd like to know how much time have you spent as a woman in survival mode
I'm over here laughing. I'm over here laughing.
To give your perspective of what a woman's perspective
I have to go read this now.
Being in survival mode. You have to, because it was very fucking exhausting, Ivory. I think what you wanted me to feel last week, I felt finally today.
You see how
it's there.
Okay.
Hey, Nikki.
Yes.
I guess what happened is that the men that responded skimmed over what you were conveying. It just went into straight up defense mode with that one. It just answered instead of just actually reading and comprehending that the question was generalized more towards the women than the men. But it's just crazy.
It wasn't okay for you to ask women.
And assuming positive intent for these individuals. I mean, because you're probably a kind, wonderful person. These people are hurt, wounded. They are looking for opportunities to fight with women about being women. And any opportunity at this point that presents itself, that they can go on an assault of a woman verbally, they are choosing it readily, unfortunately.
It was a lot.
I have no punches to pull here. I'm just gonna call it for what it is.
Wasn't even about them.
Just an opportunity. Just an opportunity to dump on ladies.
And Lisa, I tried to go back and say, maybe the way I wrote it invited a response that men felt like, oh, this is for all of us. But like, really, if you're asking a question of what would take a woman out of survival mode into submission mode, because in my mind, society certainly has it set up that it's in a woman's nature to submit to her man. It's not necessarily society standard for men to submit to women. However, in a very functional relationship, we should be compromising with each other, right? But the point being, what does it take to get a woman out of survival mode into submission mode? You would think that you'd want to hear what women have to say about their experience of being in that place. And all it was, sorry fellas, when you hear this, was the standard pack of dudes who does this every time. And that doesn't mean that women don't need to be called out. That doesn't mean that women don't need to be held to a higher standard. That doesn't mean that we don't need to be better sometimes. But I wasn't talking to you. I was talking through women, trying to get women to express what survival mode is to us, since that's what the post was about. To bring us out of that space, to let our man lead, to listen to our man, to trust our man, to follow our man, to put him at the head of the household. But it turned into broken bitches, broke bitches, bitches without money, females without money, females who haven't healed from all their baggage, and just all these things. And I was like, fuck, only literally for most of the day, I was the only woman who chimed in on the post. And then another woman finally chimed in, and I was like, oh, sweet Jesus, a woman who's actually given her feedback. And even then, she got shit on. And I was like, I thought you wanted to know what being in survival mode looks like. So this woman gave an example of what her experience possibly of being in survival mode consisted of. And it was like nothing that was going to be said was going to be productive with this certain group of men who, have a history of.
So basically, you didn't get the results that you were looking for.
Do what?
Right. So basically, you didn't get the results that you were looking for. That post.
I wasn't even looking for. I mean, it wasn't even that I was looking for a specific result. I was really hoping that women would explain.
But that's what I meant, as far as like the women responding.
What survival mode meant, so that those who were curious for research purposes, and I use that frequently because somebody said it was. So then two of them went and posted it to their personal pages to get their own advice, their own feedback, right? So when doing these research purposes, I said you would think that if you were curious to know how to take this woman out of the space, you'd want to know what it looks like, but you don't want to know what it looks like. You know what a woman in survival mode looks like because you've obviously been a woman in fucking survival mode is all I can assume. I don't know.
And listen, Nikki, not only did they hijack your post, but they kind of proved the point of
that's what I said.
Probably why other women aren't even posting, right? Because this post isn't safe.
That part. Yeah. That part.
We're talking about coming out of a mode to be in a safe place, and you made the post an unsafe place.
Literally.
And talk about survival.
Oh yeah.
When I tell you my inbox has been going off all day today, I am not kidding. The messages that I have received today from people who have read those comments have been like, huh?
Y'all know I've been on this for like a week or two, so really? I'm just gonna simmer down and simmer back. Now, I will say this: I refuse to engage in conversation with any of these individuals since they won't show their face.
Right.
You got called to the carpet. You got called to these meetings and other meetings because you have something constantly. And
y'all know how we do.
Your face and have a conversation. I will not
come
live.
I
won't type with you. So if you notice,
I'll do a live. I'll start up a live with no problem.
She's basically saying, "Come to the stage.
Come to the stage, or you do not
come to the stage.
Get my fingers no more." Because it's so easy to hide all that hate behind you typing, but when you have to actually look and engage with us, you're not interested in that. I'm not interested in engaging with you at all anymore. So I won't do it.
And listen, let me tell you something.
I'm not engaged.
Because I put all of my opinions and my thoughts out there with my face on it. And I work a respectable job. So it's a lot of ways for me to get. When I put myself out there, then I expect you to do the same. If you don't, then I definitely don't respect that. So
I'm not. I don't know.
You. And who's this? Virgil? Come on, jump on with us. Like
Virgil, I think Virgil might be trolling us, but he said he's not, but I think he is.
Before he gets to that,
somebody, if you don't, then I'm not telling you.
Well, you gotta wait. You're interrupting, so hold on, and then you can jump in. Go ahead.
And your sound is. Yeah, you sound like you talking out of like when you at McDonald's and they speaking through the speaker box. That's how you sound. Your sound ain't up to par, man. But I'm sorry. Go ahead, jump in. You
hating already, huh? You know what I'm saying? I ain't got the studio microphone like you do, brother.
Listen to the recording. You know what I'm talking about. welcome to Carl Jr. Can I take your order? Well, go ahead.
I was gonna say, as far as the results that I was referring to in regards to your posts, what I mean by results, as far as the responses that you were looking for the women, because that's who it was geared toward, as opposed to the men who was responding. So when I asked that question, and hopefully you got some clarity for that in regards to you not getting the results, because it was nothing but men that respond, nothing but men that responded, and not enough women, or women didn't respond at all. So you got that one that you mentioned later on in the context of the comment section.
It's ridiculous. I just put up a post the other day, and I guess Quentin didn't see it, but it was about choirs, like church and choirs, and some preacher going off about there not being any choirs in church anymore. And I addressed it to Quentin, but I knew anybody else who went to church or were interested in choirs would chime in, and a couple people did. But just imagine putting up a post about church and choirs, and somebody jump on and talking about, I hate church. And church, it wasn't a post for you. It was
Right.
a post for people who go to church and have an opinion about choirs. Like, come on.
Right.
Like,
it just is exhaustive. And that's what I said today to all of them. I said, you're fucking exhausting. It's exhausting. It's just exhausting. Because, you know, Q, you had said something in our conversation last Friday when we did our impromptu live. I think it was last Friday. You had made the comment about, because I said that, you know, there had been some friends who had reached out. There was somebody who had reached out to me and was wanting to get some clarification on some male-female issue, right? Talking about just help me make it make sense. And you said, why would a man be asking a woman? So, but in the context of what I was using as the example, it was a male and woman type of conversation this person was trying to get some clarity on. But at the same time,
but my thing, what I was saying,
you have an opportunity.
Why are you asking an opinion when you clearly don't respect women the way that you need to? Why would you be asking an opinion of somebody that you don't respect?
And my thing is okay, let's keep it real fucking basic. Well, let's keep it real basic. I posted it. I did. I posted it. I had a caption with it. Now, I didn't create the meme, but I posted it. Not this girl or this girl or this girl. Like, I posted it, right? So if you know me and you know how I operate as a woman and you know how I speak as a woman and you know how I advocate for men and you know how I cut for men and how I don't cut men down and how I'm not one of these bitches that they're always talking about and these horrible women that they're always referring to and these dog ass chicks that they've been with who have drugged them through the fucking mud. If I'm not one of those women, you give me all of that smoke on a post that was asking women to explain what coming out of submission moment. And it's like I know that wasn't meant for me, but you can't even take your fucking blinders off enough to see that there are women out here who will cut for you, who are trying to be solution-based, operating out of solution-based mentality, and you still cannot get it together enough to not just fucking find a way to bag and bag and bag on a woman. And that's cool that you need to express. It's cool that you need to express the male's perspective about dealing with shitty women, but god damn, every single post, every single reply, and it's just getting more and more, which only shows exactly what the post was about to be true. We got to stay in survival mode because of shit like that. That's why we in survival mode.
Well, I'm saying is about what they're saying is you don't respect women. So why would you be seeking the opinion of one when you clearly don't respect them?
And it's hard to wrap your mind around the thought that like maybe some of these men don't respect women, but what the fuck else do we have to go by?
Really? How is that? I mean, no, it ain't hard. If you look at the responses.
I mean, yes, but then when you know some of these people like in your real life, there's a strange dichotomy that goes back and forth between like who you are here versus who you are here, how you are here versus how you are here, how we operate here versus how we operate here. It's just it's a weird thing.
It happens when people look at generalizations and sound bites more than they do personal experiences. Just like I've had this conversation from a Christian perspective on many occasions, and people say, "Oh, Christians this, Christians this," and I'm like, "Well, I'm not that." But people will disassociate what they know about me personally and I represent from what they generally view, and they'll just override anything that I say. I'm like, "What you're saying all these things to me, and you know that I am not that what you're trying to portray a Christian to be, but still somehow it's not going to connect with you that at least you could say not all of them are like that because I have personal experiences with certain people, but they don't because they look at the generalizations. That's a basic definition of brainwash. You're brainwashed by a system, by social media, and by other things. So even if you have personal experiences of a woman who doesn't act or behave or respond the way that you claim all of them do, you'll still overlook it because that's where brainwashing comes in.
I say put a panel and be quiet at this point.
You said what, Ivory?
Hit a panel or be quiet. Hit a panel or stop being a troll at this point, because
you talking about Virgil?
No. I'm talking about these woman haters. I'm
talking about everybody. Virgil, I'm talking about listen. Let me tell you something.
I'm
gonna say this one good time.
Be quiet at this point.
I'm gonna say this one good time. On Freethinkers, we do a lot of commenting, but we do live. Live is what we started out as. Live is what we do. When the conversation goes back and forth enough, we will go live immediately. If you ain't willing to go live, you ain't willing to show your face, we don't respect you. Ain't no other way to say it. We don't. If you want to keep going back and forth but never want to get on live, we don't respect that. We don't respect you, and then you turn into white noise to us. I mean, that's the easiest way I can. There's a lot of people who I've had conversations with over the years. I'm like, yo, if you feel this strong about this, let's get on live.
Come on
let's
over.
talk about it.
Yeah.
And some of those people disappear, and I'm like, okay, I have no respect for you. I don't even care about what you say at this point.
Well, and I mean, you get a more clear conversation when you have a live conversation. It's like, that's why they tell you texting in a relationship is the best way to miscommunicate how you feel. You can't read energy. I mean, sometimes you can, right? But you can miss things so much by not hearing and seeing a person's energy with what they're saying. So these conversations being inviting people to come live are not for a confrontational purpose all the time. Now, if we're going to go there, that's where we're going to go. Right. But it's to be able to have a conversation and be transparent and clear, right, and not misunderstand each other. Right. But so when you asked last week, do we have a responsibility as a Freethinkers to hold people accountable? And I told you, sometimes it's 50-50 with me. Sometimes I'm cool going to conversations I might get beat up on, and sometimes I'm like, man, fuck this. I don't have the energy or the bandwidth to do this because I know who the audience is. I know who the person is. I know what their operating level is. But this morning I had a little bit of time. And I said, let me go ahead and respond to a couple of these fucking comments, because I literally at first was just like, you've got to be shitting me.
You know what? I got time today. Let's go.
And because I consider these people to be friends of mine, I try to not be reckless. I try to not be disrespectful. If I spoke in the way that my hurts told me I could speak to you, I would fucking annihilate you with words. But I choose not to. For what? Why? That's energy that I don't have to exert in a space that it's not going to make a difference. I'd rather stay in solution-based thinking, forward-based thinking. What can I do? How can I operate to help bring us back to fucking together, since that clearly seems to be where the division is? But I can't do that. One person can't do that by themselves. One sex can't do that by themselves. One population of people can't do that by themselves. But it was exhausting this morning, and that's why I wanted to really use this topic as that conversation piece, because I know that it's been felt by more women in that room than just me. And so for that, I do have a responsibility to say something, because I do want Freethinkers to be safe. We have continuously been prideful of the energy that we've created in that space to be safe, but people are pulling back because we're being fucking attacked left and right. And we just can't do that. We can't. Come here, have a conversation, or disengage for a while.
Yeah, don't
question to the women on the panel. Question to the women on the panel.
Listen, grab your pair, whether it's go ahead, sir.
Okay. Are any of you guys going to respond to Nikki's question on our post? Are you guys going to give your input on that as far as getting out of that survival mode into the submissive mode? Are you guys going to respond? And I'm just curious. I would like to know you guys' thoughts.
I'm gonna go back.
Just respond to the question right now.
The actual question that was at hand.
Yeah.
Because respond to the post or respond to it right now. You hope not.
Yeah, like respond to it right now. As far as
sure.
Like, are you going to comment on the post or respond? Okay, go ahead.
Oh, okay. No, he meant respond now. So
no, respond to the question. Yeah, go ahead.
I have been in my relationship for 17 years, but I will say this. When I was in college, I heard from a lot of guys, why are you got the stank face, Quinn? Like when I was in college, I heard.
No, I didn't know you were in this relationship for 17 years. That's a long time. Goodness gracious.
But when I was in college, I heard from a lot of guys like that I was too rough to be in a relationship with. Like you're too much. You want too much. You have too many standards. You have too much this. You have too much this. And so I completely understand that mode of, well, in this state, I am taking care of myself. And until I meet someone that I can be safe with, this is the version you get of me. Like, and I wasn't disrespectful. I wasn't loud. It wasn't any of those things. They're just like, there's a shell. But I mean, and Quentin knows this, like I moved away from home when I was 17, like to Texas, way away. Like I had been working it out for years at that point. So I was in survival mode. And so until you can prove that I'm safe with you, then and my husband always laughs because he was like, yeah, when I met you, you were like really like stone faced. And then once we got married, I mean, I got softer as the relationship went on, but when we got married, he was like, you are so soft. Like, he was like, I did not know you were this easygoing. I'm like, because I was still taking care of myself until we got married. And when we got married, he was like, I got you. You don't have to worry about it. Like, I got you. And I was like, oh, let the feminine reign. And, femininity on 10,000. And it's been like that. So that's just the truth. That's how we operate. So whatever. That's it. That's my answer.
Lisa, jump in really quick though. I seen something come up, said, are you a Christian or a spiritual person? I'm both. Easiest way, go look at all the red letters in the Bible. I agree with all the red letters. There's nothing in the red letters that I say I disagree with. So that'll make me a Christian. Makes me a Christian. Lisa, what you got?
So you remember I said earlier I started typing something, but I didn't post it because I was pissed. I was mad. So it stayed in my drafts, and I never finished it. But like, I'll read to you what I actually started to write earlier, just to show you that I was legit about to comment. I was writing, the thing about wounds, emotional or otherwise, is that they become a sign of
self-control. Though that's good. You got a sign. You got self-control. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Eventually, the scars begin to fade, and sometimes we forget that they're even there, but they are still there. And just as everyone heals at a different rate, everyone has a different level of patience as well. A man or a woman can call themselves good or real, yet still lack the emotional capacity to create that safe space for the other, as Nikki alluded to. It can be exhausting to try to be what you think a person needs, and they still keep that guard up, but it simply means that you are not going to be the one to do it. That can feel very offensive or like a waste of time, but it also doesn't mean that the other person is too, quote unquote, broken for any man or woman to help facilitate growth and healing. And then I didn't finish the rest of what I was saying. But the point I was making is, these people came on there and, they were trying to portray all women, or not all women, but a lot of women, as it ain't my fucking problem to fix you. You know what I'm saying? And that is true to a degree, but it also means you don't have the fucking patience or the emotional stability or maturity. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what bugged the crap out of me, is that it was just this huge blanket of generalization that didn't leave any room for the fact that there are some men out there and there are some women out there that do have the patience and understanding to know that maybe somebody's being a little bit cautious. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe there are deep wounds there. Maybe there are scars there. Maybe there are issues there. And that doesn't mean that that person doesn't deserve to be loved or cared for or dealt with or even tolerated. You know what I'm saying? If you have a hard time dealing with that person, or you can't accept the fact that they need time and everybody's timeline is different, then walk away and move on. But that doesn't mean that you need to bash them or degrade them or belittle them just to say that you got too many issues for me and that's the problem with you women. No, it's not. You're the fucking
Lisa,
problem.
What I see, Lisa, is it's no, you fine. You fine. I see a huge level of insecurity. And so insecurity shows up in so many different ways. And in the way that I'm talking about is, how come if you, Lisa, you express a certain thing or a certain way that you need love reciprocated, or you need to receive it, or how come it's not enough for me to say, oh, okay, I see that, I respect that.
That's you.
That's not me. No, it's not.
Oh, no, I meant like you. Yeah.
Right, that's for you. So I could look at you and say, okay, good person. They need things a certain way. That's not my key to unlock.
Right. Exactly.
And I can respect you. I can keep moving. I can say that, the right person will be able to unlock that key, and it's going to be the right fit.
And that's exactly what Ivory was
Insecurity
just
feels
about.
like you need to, like, I could look at people. So that's what I talk about when I was talking about the guy was a simp. And the reason I say that's because, yeah, men get rejected but a secure person will tell you they didn't reject me. I'm just not their cup of tea.
Right.
So even if I see someone and I speak to someone and I say, hey, hi, miss, how are you doing? And they say, I'm doing fine. They kind of give me the cold shoulder. Maybe I'm just not their cup of tea. Maybe they want somebody taller. Maybe they want somebody lighter or darker or bald-headed or whatever. They want somebody with whatever it is. I'm just not their cup of tea, but that doesn't take away from me. And it doesn't take away from them. They have preferences and I have preferences. So you keep moving. You can respect them and say, okay, hey, nice meeting you, nice speaking to you, good luck on your endeavors in life, whatever it is. But you don't have to be insecure and take it as a personal shot, like they did something to you or they disrespected you in some type of way because it wasn't compatible. That's insecurity. When you personalize everything that doesn't have anything to do with you.
I apologize to you, Nikki, because I to your point that you said earlier, that stuff like that is the reason why people shy away from commenting, because they just don't have the patience or the time to get into it with people like that, because they know it's going to be a lose-lose. And that's kind of like how I was feeling. So I apologize for not jumping in there and supporting you, but I felt everything that you were saying. So.
It's okay, because everything happens the way that it's supposed to happen, right? It's okay. Like, and for me, one of the best parts about me being able to be in that space is I'm a tough woman. I've been in survival mode for a long fucking time. I'm a tough chick, but I'm also logical and rational, and I don't feel like it's always everybody's space sometimes, because like I have personal relationships with all these people outside of here, right? So the gloves that I wear are a little bit different, but never would I want somebody else who doesn't have a personal relationship with some of these people to feel attacked or offended or disrespected. So if it feels safer and better to just sit back and listen and watch, that's okay. Because I know that whoever saw that wanted to comment and didn't, got what they needed to get by what I said, and I'm okay with that, because I said what I said.
The reason why I don't jump in, well, number one, I don't be on there a lot, but even when I am, sometimes I don't jump in and comment on stuff, is because I know people are conditioned and their attention spans are so short. I can explain myself perfectly and they still are not going to be listening or really reading what you say. You get your ass up on here live.
So
we're
let's do it on Tuesday.
Face-to-face conversation, and then I'm not going, you know, if it's something real, I'm not going to allow you to just gloss past what I said and you go into your own thing. So that's one of the reasons why it's like, I could, you know, give you, you know, 250 characters, and I'm like, but you ain't listening, because then you go right back into whatever you were saying, and I'm like, nah, I ain't about to do it. Let's get on.
I think that's going to be my.
I've done this often. Let's get on live. You want to get on live?
I think this is going to be my trolling comment for this foolishness. Is I'm just going to keep saying that in different comments. Man,
hey,
when we going
to
have a live
me on. Tag me on. We can set this live up anytime.
We should talk about this live. Sounds like you have strong opinions. You should talk about them live. Maybe that'd be my new troll.
I'm with it. I'll set it
or
up.
Come to the stage.
Come to the stage.
Don't be no typing, Doug. Come to the stage. Don't be no computer. Come to the stage.
Twitter fingers.
Call them out. Twitter fingers.
Yep. Hey, I like that. You can come to the stage. Let's do it.
Yeah, you in that chat banging, come to the stage. That's what be on Clubhouse when folks be saying stuff in the chat. They're like, if you got something to say, come to the stage. Don't be typing with your fingers. Come to the stage. I'm like, well, come on up.
And don't just put your mouth on it. Put your face on it. It's a different. People put their face on it.
You know, and sometimes
an hour and 50 minutes. Go ahead.
Well, and I'll just quickly kind of sum it up with, you know, a lot of the times in these situations, I don't respond because I feel like it's far more beneficial for those that are watching to get what they get out of watching. You don't have to say. I mean, my daddy told me my whole life growing up, you don't always have to say something. You don't always have to say something. And so a lot of times you can just read comments, you can read these tirades and know exactly what you're working with. So I don't have to say shit. I don't need to defend. I don't need to excuse. I don't need to nah, we see it. It's visible. It's very visible. You know, and that's the part that
Nikki,
for me.
All right, Nikki,
What?
Let me go here, Nikki.
All right.
People choose who they want to give their energy to.
True.
If you were ugly, unattractive, and somebody that they were not interested in, do you think they would give you their however 250 characters, whatever? Do you think they would give you the energy of going back and forth if you were unattractive, ugly, and someone that they were not interested in?
Well,
I already know the answer to that. I'm just throwing it out there.
But if you take that same statement though, and you look at the history of what you've seen, the history is not just me. The history is any woman who says something that they really don't agree with.
Yeah,
whether it's me, whether it's Ivory, whether it's Jules, whether it's Regina, whether it's Lisa, whether it's any woman in there, if they don't agree with what a woman has said, it's gonna be like fucking guns blazing. The battle is about to start. I think that sometimes with me, because I do have personal relationships with them and they do know me outside of these spaces and they do know the type of woman that I am, maybe there is a challenge to, I want to say maybe even get some clarity from a woman that maybe they respect, but I'm not feeling like that right now, because if that was the case, I wouldn't even feel like this right now. So I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. But I don't think it's just that, because the patterns are not exclusive to me. The patterns are women.
There are people who don't only seek out those who agree with them. They seek out those who oppose them because they are in constant conflict mode.
That's true too. That's true too.
I can't even say nothing to you. Look, just remember this. You'll see in time. And listen. So just because they respond to everyone else who's on the thread, you put the thread up there.
Right.
So even when they're responding to other people, then they're still listen. You'll see in time.
I'm always down for being learned.
And trust me, oh my God, I know the way certain types of men operate.
I'll give you that.
I trust when I tell you I know. I really do.
I give you that. You've been right a few times.
I can't tell you. I can't tell you in how many. And you know what's a blessing to me that helps me see it is so many women are comfortable sharing these because I wouldn't see it if people didn't share it with me. But there's so many women who share these type of experiences with me because I'm not that dude, and they'll share with me the stuff that all these dudes be doing, and I just be like, oh God. And I see the patterns over and over and over again. And whatever. You'll see. You'll see. And,
I mean,
listen, God, let me say it like this. There's some basic truths. Let me say it like this. If you were a unattractive person, I ain't even gonna go to weight, height, race, anything. Just if you were someone who was totally unattractive to the masses, do you feel that you would get the same responses? Do you feel that you get the same type of DMs? Do you feel that you would get the same type of help me understand? I just really need to listen. There's a lot of unattractive people out there, and dudes are not beating down their DM talking about, I need you to help me understand a certain type of thing.
I hear you.
I know this. Trust me, I know this.
I hear you. But I do still give myself credit for being a certain type of woman who can have conversations rationally versus emotionally. That doesn't mean that you're not right, but for me, my default, and maybe that's because I don't look at it the way you do, and I'm a woman, you're a man, so I have to listen to what you're saying because you come with a different perspective. But my default for me is that I feel as though people genuinely know that they can come to me and I'm rational, I'm transparent, and I can speak from a logical standpoint versus the emotional standpoint. To me, that's a quality in a home girl, right? Like you want that if you're trying to learn.
It could be dual purpose. And all I'm saying is there are other unattractive people who are understanding and have good perspective and this and this and that. And they're
so I hear you. It definitely makes me after today, I'm a little bit guarded in a space. After today, I'm a little bit guarded in a space that I wasn't guarded in this morning. And so coming into the conversation tonight, I thought to myself, you just have to say the truth. You just have to be truthful. You just have to say the truth. And if people are upset or offended or angry or whatever, that's not about me. Getting to the solution is not going to be by protecting somebody else's feelings. What'd you say?
You was trying though, Nikki. You was really trying these last couple weeks. I seen you. I was like, look at her. She is really trying.
Well, when you said
to be
Friday,
diplomatic,
it didn't occur to me until afterwards Friday when you were like, you're being so good. I was like, what is she meaning? I was like, oh. Because I value my relationships with people, so I like to be neutral in a certain position, right? But I also realize that's a 2 motherfucking way street, and you don't get just because I give.
Y'all doing too much rationalization. And see, this is a problem that I have. Let me tell you something. This is a problem I have with
therapist mindset
and women and modern day society. The biggest issue I see with women in modern day, you're trying to take out the basic instinct of human beings. And if you pull that from the equation, there's so much you're going to miss. So everything that you just said can be right and correct on an intellectual and a mental level. But if you take out the natural instinct that a man has, you're going to miss a lot. All the stuff that makes sense. It's a lot of stuff that don't make sense and it's not designed to make sense. It's a natural instinct. And whether even a man admits it, he gravitates towards certain things that his instinct drives him towards. That's why I said it can be dual purpose. He may want to get an understanding, but why do he want to get an understanding from you versus an unattractive person?
That's not what we were talking about. I was saying
you need to be talking about it is what I'm saying. You can't separate the two.
No, we have been to a different conversation. No, I think Nikki agreed with you on that. Okay. So you doubling down, but
trying to drive my point
home. Calm down. No, I was saying when we had these initial couple conversations about these people reacting this way with their posts in chat, Nikki was being very diplomatic. So you say Nikki, and she'd be like, yeah, that's messed up, but trying to see stuff from both. She was being really diplomatic. And I was like, Nikki, you being really good. But she was trying to ride the middle line, which I understand. When you know people, you do want to give them the benefit of the doubt until
y'all gotta stop
they
doing
show that they don't deserve it.
There's certain people, like I'll be at work or other places like that, and we had conversations. They ask about work, how do you do this and how do you do this, and then they ask basic questions about what I do and where I live and people. And then there comes to a certain point, I'm looking like, she wanna F me.
Oh God.
I agree.
On from that. You are still there.
Stop moving on from that is what I'm telling you. You got to start realizing some of these things, and it makes everything else clearer to you. The questions, the conversations that keep coming back to, oh, okay, I get it now. They trying to get at me.
Two different conversations.
We're
right
not.
Now.
We are not. I'm telling Nikki, if she starts paying attention to the basic instinct of things, it's going to clear up a lot more questions that she have about why people are asking her certain things.
She agreed with you already. That
she didn't. You trying to gloss past this? I'm driving this point home. She needs to pay attention to this.
New conversation, but okay.
She needs to pay attention to this. I'm
telling you.
I'm telling you where she getting stuck at.
You can just stay here.
She getting stuck.
Nikki, are you agreeing with him?
If you pay attention to this, then you won't be stuck.
He's just gonna stay here.
No, she ain't. Look at her. She got her hand on her chin. She not. She's still in limbo.
What I agree with is the fact that it's not something that I think about, right? Because I don't necessarily reciprocate that same position, right? I'm cool with being a friend. I'm cool with being, your pseudo therapist. I'm cool with providing good information. I'm cool with being an example of, damn, there's some good ass fucking women out here. Like, I'm cool with that. But to your point, I'm also not a man. I don't think like a man. I don't know what men think. I don't know how y'all operate. And not all men think and operate the same way. But if a man is telling me, and a man has told me this enough times over the course of a couple years, and some shit didn't come to fruition, I'm definitely going to be inclined to take that advice and look at the angle of things, no doubt. But like I said, for me going into that situation and being in that position, I don't go into it thinking there's anything more to it other than
need to start. That's what I'm telling you.
So that's what I'm hearing you say. And so that's why I said after today, I said, I have to reevaluate. I've been checking my position in people's life a lot lately and making sure I don't overplay my part. I don't have enough time and energy to overplay my part, which is why, like, you may have experienced Ivory feeling like I was being more middle ground in some of those conversations, because honestly, to me, there was a part of me where it wasn't worth my energy to go there because I knew what the outcome was going to be. But like I said, today I had a little bit of time. I had just a little time this morning, and not a whole lot of time, but a little bit. And because of the nature of the repetitiveness and literally the number of women that hit me up today and mentioned that post and how they felt about that. Me and Q were talking at like 5 o'clock about what we was going to talk about today. I said, have you seen the post yet? I said, have you seen what happened this morning? Because I think it deserved being talked about. I'm not talking about somebody, you know what I'm saying? We can have the conversation live. I never have backed away from a conversation on here. But it deserves to be said. If you can spew all the things that you can spew, then I can say what I'm saying. And that's just how that's going to have to be. You can like me or you can not like me.
In my opinion, ain't even come from specifics. Because like I said, I don't even be on there that much. So I'm not even talking about nobody specific. I'm just talking about my collection of experiences throughout the years. And it ain't got nothing to do with free thinkers or something that somebody told me that I know. I'm just like, these are the characteristics that I see, and they're telltale signs every single time.
But there's a whole internet community of these kind of men right now, though. They're in a whole community together where they do this various places.
Well, there was so to that point, Ivory, one of the gentlemen who was involved in the conversation, then took that whole post and reshared it on his page, and I commented on it. I commented in it. A friend of his had commented on it. And then he tagged the friend who commented, and he was like, don't let her off the hook. And I was like, there's like a whole, there's like no hook to be let off of. I'm still coming and speaking from a place defining the fucking meme of what it feels like to be in survival mode versus going into submission. Like we're still going back to the original post. It was like, don't let her off the hook, tagging other people. Don't let her off the hook. I was like, wow.
You know what's crazy to me, Nikki? My thing is like, what do you expect to accomplish from this mindset and this behavior? Do you
gonna
think
be alone
that
and
you're
miserable? Sorry.
Yeah, no, Ivory, that's all I'm saying. I'm like, who do you think this is? You're gonna attract by this? Do you think that by going down this path, you're getting yourself closer to finding your true love or the relationship or the right type of dynamic that you're looking for? The only thing that you're doing, men and women, y'all don't understand, it's a war being waged against you, and you're falling right into it. And all it's doing is just pushing you further and further apart.
Right.
And but you don't see, like, you're so focused on the talking points that you're not paying attention to reality. How's your dating life? How is your communication life? How is even just the friends you have? Are you getting closer? Are you learning more about the opposite sex? Are you starting to understand one another better? I guarantee you're not. So but you're going to keep continuing to go down this road that's going to leave you alone. And the people who are promoting this and doing, they living well. They living in their houses and they making money off of your pain and suffering and trauma.
You hate.
They leaving you all of that. And that's what I get confused as why you allow talking points and memes to dictate your life more so than your personal encounters and experiences. It can, hey, listen, my life is good, so I can't. Let me tell you, like, I'm gonna say two things. My life is good, and I'm getting real old, and I don't have as much as I would love to redirect your mindset and your thoughts and help lead you to the path of righteousness. I ain't got enough time left on this earth. Either you figure it out or you don't. People dying every single day, so you will die in your poison thoughts, or you will say, hey, this ain't working. Let me try something different. I don't have the time to correct you. And one of the things that I do for myself, I do not feel obligated. I say this all the time. I do not feel obligated to redirect the society as a whole. I control my circle, my cipher, the influence that I have within my personal connections. That's how I create my heaven. I have wonderful family, friends, people that I know, conversate with. I have great conversation interactions. I create that circle. Now the rest of the world could be going to shit. Hey, that's just where it's going. I control my circle.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you, you can do the same for yourself. But you gotta, watch the influences, watch the memes, gotta peep game, pay attention. Be practical, pragmatic. The things that you keep saying are the things that you say. Are you seeing them in real life, practical circumstances? That's why I say pragmatism. That's the biggest thing that I'm on. So even and it applies to me so much in church, because church have all these beautiful colloquialisms, and I'll be like, oh yeah, that sounds good. What real life experiences do I know or have experienced that can back that up? If I don't, I'll be like, yeah, it just sounded good, but that's not true. Let me create a truth based on experiences that I see and that I know to be true and that I can expound on. Anyway, it's 2 hours and 10 minutes. We'll stop there.
It was great. It was a good conversation.
Yeah, good stuff.
I don't know if we really got to expand right on what the whole purpose
Imran,
of
what you up to, Imran? I ain't seen you in a long time, man.
I saw that. But it was a good conversation, and and I would be inclined to believe, that we can continue this conversation, right? Should those that were a part of it that didn't attend, should they decide they want to, have this conversation and get some clarity.
Get off the conversation.
Well, I just was saying in the event that those that were a part, didn't get to jump in tonight and be a part of the conversation. But it definitely, it needed to be said, and when you put it out there in a public forum, then it becomes public to be discussed. So it just is what it is, but it's exhausting. And so if any of y'all are listening to us, it is exhausting. I literally wanted to hashtag, let me get my Band-Aids today. And I didn't, because that would have been inflammatory. And I'm not trying to be inflammatory. Like I don't want to be inflammatory. But the things that I say oftentimes come across as inflammatory. I can't control that, but it is what it is. It was an interesting thing this morning. So I appreciate y'all for talking about it with me, and exploring it. And and I'm sorry if there are people who have been shying away from coming to conversation or being a part of conversation because of this energy that is felt. So one. It is important to speak up. And two, we're serious about this place being a safe space. We really are. We really are. Whether these are friends or family or not, right is right, safe is safe. There's no fucking gray line in that. And that's the integrity that we do have here. You don't have to like us. You don't have to like me. You ain't never gotta like shit that we do here. But for it to be fair and safe for everybody means that, we are responsible for creating that. And so I was definitely okay with having this conversation tonight.
Yeah, it was a good conversation.
And I'm glad that you joined us, Lisa.
Is this
your
first time getting on, Lisa?
It is.
Yay. You muted again.
I think I got on before the pandemic one time.
Wow.
So
okay.
But I still follow, though. I see a lot of the posts and I read the comments and things. So I definitely thought it was a great conversation, and there are points that I agree with everybody on, at one point or another. So thank you for the
we're glad you're here. Come back next Tuesday.
Yeah, come back, hang with us. All right, we got everything out. Anybody else got anything? Or we done? Finish or we're done?
We good.
Done.
We good.
All
we had a parking lot conversation. So I appreciate everybody for following us tonight, and we will see y'all next